Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Just search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Subscribe and like our YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys supporting us. We've grown so quick. We're already over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. We appreciate you guys giving that thumbs up and watching all the shows and every show here on the network and being part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. This is A to Z. Of course, you have Hitting Hard with John Chuckery, ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Davis, Anthony Batiste, Locked On Falcons, Locked On Hawks, and our Braves postcast returns starting on Friday night once baseball in the second half resumes. We'll get to that in a second. This segment brought to you by our good friends at BlueNile.com. So the Braves will take on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim starting on Friday, a weekend series here at Truist, and then they head out on the road. And it's a weird setup here in the second half because they got 3 games at home, 3 games on the road, and then they come back home for 5 games, and then they head back out on the road. So it's pretty insane right now what they have coming up. But let's just kind of look at things leading up to the trade deadline. So you get 3 games against the Angels here, right? And the Braves will only play one team above 500 prior to the trade deadline, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. 3 games against the Angels, a struggling team that's in second to last in the AL West. And if Oakland hadn't been one of the worst teams in the league, they probably would be last in the ALS. And despite all the big names, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, everybody else that's on that roster, they just can't seem to put it all together and be a very good baseball team. So they get 3 in a row against the Angels. And then they get 3 games in Philadelphia. And they're going to see a lot of Philadelphia and the Mets in the second half because they played most of the Marlins and the Nats in the first half. So 3 against LA, 3 against Philadelphia, and then they come back home for 3 against Arizona, which is another below 500 team. And that gets us to the end of July. And with the trade deadline being August 2nd this year, they'll come back home. They'll stay home for 2 games against Philadelphia. And that's really what it is. Look, for whatever reason, if the Braves struggle against the Angels and the Phillies, and then they turn the page to Arizona, and they don't win there may be a sense from Alex Anthopoulos that they need to sort of, maybe, I don't want to say push a panic button, but maybe they may start to think that things are a bigger need than what they are. I have been repeatedly telling you about Alex Anthopoulos' aggressiveness and where he needs to be when it comes to the trade deadline and what it's like to go out and try and win another World Series again and the players that make a difference. So I am 100% on board with Alex Anthopoulos doing something at the trade deadline and not just standing pat, because it's really tough to win the Super Bowl, the World Series 2 years in a row without extra help. And I go back and I say repeatedly, the 1998 Yankees were one of the greatest baseball teams ever assembled. They won the World Series, and all they did that offseason was trade their best pitcher from 98 and David Wells and upgrade to Roger Clemens, who had won back-to-back Cy Youngs in 99. I mean, I say that because that's what it takes sometimes to be able to go out and win back-to-back World Series. You're constantly upgrading. You're never staying in one spot. You're never looking at it and going, we're good. So what does that leaves the Braves left to do? We'll tell you that in a moment, but first a word from our friends at BlueNile.com. Whether you're ready to pop the big question or you're just celebrating that milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple tools that will help you with that engagement ring. You get to choose the diamond shape, the size, the clarity, as well as the setting style. And then Blue Nile's bench jewelers will handcraft the perfect engagement ring and setting for her. Each ring is going to be one of a kind because you help make it. If you're looking for that milestone piece of jewelry, just a way to say, I love you. If you're looking for fine jewelry, you have trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. Available via phone or chat to help you find memorable gifts for every budget out there. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured. It ships free, arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, so where are the Braves going to look here in the second half at the trade deadline? You have to believe that there are more bullpen arms coming. You really, really do. And you have to believe that they will start to closely examine the starting pitching. I mean, here's the thing objectively, where you are right now with the Atlanta Braves and their starting pitching. You have big time question marks from Charlie Morton and Ian Anderson. They just haven't, in my opinion, been as good as you need them to be. How can you deny what Spencer Strider has done to this point as far as his viability to stay in the rotation through the entire year and the postseason? I don't. I told him Max Fried, Kyle Wright, Spencer Strider, despite what you saw in his last start, are where I'm going to go. And I get that, Morton is the wily veteran and he's the guy who makes big playoff starts for you, and you don't win the World Series without him. And Ian Anderson has been good in the postseason previously, but none of that matters when it comes to this postseason. Now, I'm not saying Ian Anderson can't be good again in this postseason, but how much do you want to start him in a spot where, you're down in an 0-2 hole and need a win, or it's a 1-1 swing game that you absolutely must win, especially if the Braves are a lower seed, and getting back to home field. So, I mean, it's hard to figure out 100%, what the rest of this rotation is going to look like. But you're going to see each of these guys probably twice before the trade deadline as it gets closer. So you'll get a chance to see over the first 10 games who still has the A+ stuff that you're looking for to really decide down the stretch. Because after the seconds that you're done adding for the postseason, nobody can be added to the postseason roster after the trade deadline. You can add players, but you can't add anybody that would go on the postseason roster going forward. So, it is a very much a it's very much a situation that is going to be closely watched by the Braves front office. I have a hard time believing that the draft pick that they traded for and Robinson Cano is all that Alex Anthopoulos is going to do the rest of the way to improve this team and make it better. So there are a lot of challenges still to be had. Remember, they don't necessarily have to catch the Mets, but that's still a big deal. And if the Mets get DeGrom back, makes it much harder for the Braves to catch them. This is not going to be an easy road. It never is. And winning in the postseason is completely different than winning in the regular season. The Braves coming back and catching the Mets for the division and winning a World Series are two entirely different set of circumstances with two entirely different outcomes. All right, coming up next, we've had one more defect the PGA Tour in favor of Live Golf. We'll tell you who it is and what it means for golf. I love this stuff. That's next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta.